Nick, thank you so much for hopping on this podcast and I guess simulcast YouTube broadcast with me.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. And for people listening and or watching, we are not related, although we have the same last name. It's kind of a funny way that we bonded first time when I met you at POMA last year. But
Yeah.
you're more Scandinavian, I'm more Eastern European.
Yeah. We figured we somehow deduced that over a beer, I think, at Poma. And but you know what? We Hoffmans need to stick together, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Nick, why don't you explain your backstory and how you got wrapped into the outdoor industry? Because you have done a lot. You're a very talented musician, you're a TV host, avid outdoorsman. Why don't you talk about the genesis of your journey?
It's a convoluted, complicated thing. Like literally the metaphor of this all looks like a nice quilt until or a nice cross stitch until you see all the knots and strings behind on the other side. That's kind of the story of my career. Like you said, I'm a musician, I'm a fiddle player, I'm a singer, a country music artist, and that's been my life since I was a little kid. I started playing fiddle when I was 4 or 5 years old. I grew up in a musical family. I can tell you more about that later if you want, but um, I but I always was enamored with the outdoors, and I didn't grow up in a hunting family, ironically. But I was one of those kids that was always called to the outdoors. I wanted to hunt. I didn't know why. I just always wanted to. I was the kid that was walking around the woods, around our farm, looking at tracks and finding rubs and looking for trying to sneak up on deer, and that was just always something I wanted to do. So, um, music and hunting, and the outdoors in general, fishing as well, was always were always the two things that kind of were at my core. So I was always that kid that was looking for, the deer in the woods and the tracks and the rubs and all that stuff. So, hunting and fishing were always at my core as well as music. So, um, fast forward now, and I'm making very long story short. I end up running away from home when I was 16, 17 years old, and I went to Branson, Missouri to play music. That was the only thing I wanted to do, and I wanted to be on the radio and be famous. That was my goal. So I thought Branson was where I was gonna make that happen, and I kind of scared the crap out of my parents and hopped on a Greyhound bus and went to Branson, and uh, and so fast forward to several years from that, people I met in Branson ended up recommending me for a gig in Nashville after I moved to Nashville, and I was really lucky to get on with a couple of big country music artists that launched my music career. And through that, I started meeting all these different. Obviously, I'm hunting and stuff through all this, and I met some hunting celebrities, if you will, that had TV shows, and I started being a guest on their TV shows. So the music led me into the hunting industry, kind of by meeting people backstage and stuff like that, and that led to having an idea for my own TV show. Um, and this is, of course, a 15-year period here. You know what I mean? It's over a long time, and I had this idea for this Anthony Bourdain style hunting show, and 5 seasons in now, we're about to start filming the sixth season. We've got this hit TV show, and I got a brand new album coming out, and I'm just still running both tracks. They're just, I'm running full steam on two tracks at the same time, which sounds really, really exhausting now that I say it.
Mm. Well, why don't you talk about some of the musicians you've worked with? Because you have an impressive list of people you've worked with before we segue into your show.
Yeah, well, I've been really lucky to, live some of my wildest dreams um, through my music career. I started playing with a guy named Kenny Chesney in 2000, and right not too long after I moved to town, I was lucky enough to get a gig with him, and I was able to kind of jump onto that rocket ship right before it took off, and Kenny had hits before I joined, obviously, but I was there when that whole thing blew up into from theaters to stadiums, and it's every musician's dream. I said one day I wanted to play in front of 10,000 people once. That was kind of my dream when I was a kid, and here we are playing for 10,000 to 60,000 people every night. And
Incredible.
so that was incredible, and then through that I ended up, I played with I've played with people like Trace Atkins and Keith Urban and Brooks and Dunn. And I've been on stage with some of, people like Steve Miller and John Mellencamp, all this stuff that, through Kenny, all these different things that we've gotten to do. So I've been really lucky. And the list goes longer than that too. I mean, like I said, just dream come true. And then of course I got my own record deal with my band, The Farm, on Warner Brothers, and we had 2 top 40 singles with that. So then I transitioned from being a side guy to being the front guy. And that was the other dream come true. So now I finally got my first solo album coming out here really soon. So everything's just kind of continuing to roll,
And then you also play with, I think I saw that you played with either a winner or runner up from not America's Got Talent. I'm sorry, The Voice. What am I talking
The Voice, yeah. So I do a lot of producing as well, and I produce for this guy Chris Cruzy, who was a runner up in The Voice last year, and he's an incredible talent. And you're about to start seeing him. We got a brand new album that we just worked on him. So that's me behind the scenes producing music as well, and I've been really, really proud of the work we've done with Chris. He's incredible, and like I said, you're going to be seeing a lot to come from him in the coming months.
And how did your Outdoor Channel show come to be? You said obviously because of the connections you made through the music industry that was able to transition to that. And watching your show, I really do like it. I love the storytelling element. And it's hard for me to incline myself to different outdoor programming. There's so much. It's not that they're all terrible or anything of that, but it's just yours captivates and like really puts viewers in. And even those who may not be plugged into our lifestyle, I think would really like it too, because you have the storytelling element to it. You do your outdoor adventure, and then you also kind of check out what the locals are doing with each place that you go to. But talk about how your show came to be at the Outdoor Channel.
Well, first off, I mean, everything you just said is like, those are the ultimate compliments, because that's the goal with the show. There, like you said, it still is a lot of outdoor programming out there. And we kind of, Mark Baird, my producer, and I, we set out to do something a little different. And really all it is it's Nick's Wild Ride is following me going along on these adventures and doing the stuff that I'm going to do anyway, with or without a camera. When I go on to somewhere to hunt, which especially when I'm out touring, that's my vacation, right? So I go out and I explore the local food and history and culture of the place I go to. That's what kind of the guy I am anyway. So you're kind of just following along on the adventure I'd be doing anyway. The difference is that maybe I'm going to some places I might not normally be going, but yeah, it's an Anthony Bourdain style kind of hunting show. I go somewhere to hunt, and like I said, explore local food and culture and music and history. And that was the idea. The idea was to do something a little different. And I feel like we've done that. And I've been really, really proud of it. And you said something that really hits home for me, which is I always, whenever I'm putting together an episode, I'm thinking about, what if somebody's flipping through the channels and they're one of those people that sit on the fence, like the majority of Americans, about hunting. They don't have a direct opinion. They're not necessarily for it or against it, but they sit squarely on the fence. All it takes is one bad image or one bad thing for them to fall off the fence into the anti-hunting kind of category. And my goal with this is not only to obviously appeal to the general outdoor demographic that is already in our corner, but appeal to people that maybe they don't hunt but still like to watch the show. And I get messages like that every week when the show airs, and that's the biggest compliment you can give us, because in the end, if we're not recruiting people to hunting, or at least to be on our side, then I don't feel like we're actualizing ourselves as sportsmen, and women, of course.
Yeah, it's very important. Yeah, you're right, because I think, what is it, like 5 are very diehard in support of hunting, 5% are very diehard in support of hunting, and 5% are against hunting as well. So there's that big 90%, or I think they say 80% too, or maybe it's 10%, I forget, but the 5 to 10% that are adamantly for hunting and adamantly against hunting. And yeah, just the persuadables in the middle is always a challenge, but I think we are making strides. I want to be optimistic about that. I think I'm somewhat optimistic about that. You do see pushback to some of the lies now, and people, like even unlikely sources now, are saying, like, without hunters, like certain species will go extinct. I think that was a Washington Post headline I read earlier this year. And I was like, this source is talking about this? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, welcome to the club.
I think that it's about, look, there are people that are going to get out there and do the extreme advocacy, the people that are going to be like, hunt or die, that's not my approach to conversion. My approach is to try and show hunting in a positive light, that we're not all bloodthirsty killers, that we, a lot of us go out there and we love and respect and try to preserve the very animals that we hunt, which is a strange, it's a strange dichotomy, you know what I mean? And it's ironic in a lot of ways, especially to people that don't understand it. So I try to appeal to those people by showing it in a positive light. I do things a little differently, the way I film it, the way I show it. And that is in a direct attempt to try. And like I said, straddle the fence. I try to make sure that I appeal to hunters and yet maybe appeal to the people that don't. And I get these messages that say, hey, your show is the only show that my wife will watch with me, my wife who doesn't hunt, and that's the compliment right there. It's the best thing you could tell me. I love it.
That's cool. Where have been some of your favorite places to go to? I really loved in the brief time that I had the preview for Outdoor Channel, because they took it away after week. So, and I don't really have time to watch TV. So, but when I did catch your show, I loved your trip to elk country in Kentucky, where you kind of talked about and discussed at length about the confluence of the reclaimed coal mines and the still active coal mines and this healthy elk habitat. And then I love the episode where you and your wife went to Italy and kind of explored there. But where have been some places that you've enjoyed visiting? And do you have any interesting exotic places you're going to be visiting without giving any secrets away?
Yeah, it's such a tough question for me. I get asked it a lot because, over the course of, so the 5th season of Nick's Wild Ride starts airing on September 7th. So it's coming up here really fast in about a month. And that's crazy to me that we've done 5 years of this and a year of production before that. So that's, pushing 60 some episodes that we've filmed. So that's 60 trips all around the world. So it's hard to pick one particular spot, but there are definitely some that stick out. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is my first time in Africa. Mm-hmm. I was always one of those people. I grew up in the Midwest, white-tailed deer and fishing and grouse and ducks and pheasants. Like I was one of those people that said, I don't have any interest in going to Africa to hunt. Doesn't really appeal to me. I would see it in magazines. I get it. They're beautiful animals. Didn't really seem. And then my friends would say, yeah, but when you go and do it, you'll be planning your trip back before you leave. And it'll be a life-changing thing for you. I was like, yeah, I get it. Ha ha ha. 3 days into my trip, I'm going, so when can I come back? Yeah, and it really is. It's a magical thing on so many levels. The first is that the people there are incredible. They have nothing by our standards, yet they're the happiest people I've ever met. And that shows that maybe we're living wrong in certain ways, that maybe we don't need all the crap that we consume ourselves with. Maybe if we simplify life a little bit, and maybe this coronavirus thing has taught us some of that too, that we don't need all the things that we thought we did to be happy, that was interesting. Also to see conservation at work on a daily basis in a country like Namibia, where I was, that good conservation practice, science-based game management that involves hunters is a proven successful way to manage game and to make their populations not only thrive but increase. I mean, what Namibia has done, for example, with their elephant population is absolutely incredible. And without going into big details, Africa, to answer your question, was a life-changing thing for me on a lot of levels. My first time in Alaska was just life-changing too. That's what gave me my first taste of mountain hunting and climbing a mountain and losing 10 pounds on a hunt kind of thing. And I I'm addicted to it now, absolutely addicted to it. And also another very inspirational conservation side of things, there's, in a lot of ways, there's parts of Alaska that are a, conservation battleground right now, so that trips like that kind of not only give you a great thrill on the hunting side, but also teach you something. Those are things that I really love.
And do you have any places kind of in your sights that you would like to visit that you've never gone to?
Yeah, actually, I'm supposed to see. I think what is today, like the 3rd of August or something like that, right?
Or
So it's the 4th of August, and I'm supposed to be leaving on the 11th of August to go to Kyrgyzstan to hunt Marco Polo sheep. And we're talking about 15,000 feet up, and in the middle of nowhere, drinking fermented yak milk and riding horses up the mountain, kind of thing. Just exotic as can be. One of my dream hunts, and coronavirus has thwarted that for me. So I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to get there this year at all. So that was a pretty big letdown. So that one's definitely been on my bucket list, and I'm really excited about that. I really want to go to I'd like to go to like Greenland, and do maybe like muskox or something like that. Has always been on my bucket list. Another one is all the California, to do blacktail sheep. Like, I haven't hunted in California. I want to go there and duck hunt, and of course I'd love to do some sheep hunting there too. So there's some interesting places that I haven't been, and the list could go on and on, trust me. But
right.
those are the first ones that come to mind.
Yeah, I mean, since I'm fairly new to my hunting journey, like I can't even fathom doing that. Like, I want to go one step at a time, and people are like, you have to try this species, that. And I'm like, it costs a lot of money. I don't want to bid for an elk before I haven't even gotten a white-tailed deer. I've been very getting a white-tailed deer, but it's like, I want to first start slow. But no, those are good. Like, for me, like, I feel like those are good aspirational things to have. Like, and those trips are so beautiful and meaningful. And, just being a journalist in this sector, like, I see that conservation model in place, and I'm not necessarily a defender, but I like to showcase that perspective when it comes to the African conservation model, because it really is something extraordinary, and people just really give it flack without attention to detail. They don't understand what they're talking about, and they're kind of imposing this colonialist view on African nations, telling them,
sure,
what's better for you, let us come in and intervene. And they're like, no, we actually know what's working, and we'll work with organizations like Safari Club or the Property Environmental Research Center and all that. So, like, they're working with good groups, and hopefully the governments are not as corrupt, and they're cooperative, and they're also chipping in. It seems like in Namibia and other countries they are.
Yeah.
But with conservation, it's so important, and I think this can segue into another topic that we can discuss. But there's so many groups out there that do talk about and do advocate for conservation here domestically and also abroad. And one is Safari Club International, where you are involved, and I do have membership as well.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about your affiliation with them and what the group does, and meaningful work that they do? I've interviewed them before, and I think it'd be good to reiterate kind of their mission statement here.
Sure. So I've always been fascinated by American conservation models, because that's what I knew, right? So I've always been a passive. I've never been a thumper. I've never been out there, picketing. I've never been that kind of guy. Not that I wouldn't necessarily. It's never really been my style so much. But I've always liked educating and advocating for it a little more subtly, by telling people that want to listen about things. And I've been fascinated by Teddy Roosevelt and all these people my whole life, just bit by bit learning. I mean, when I read Sand County Almanac, the Aldo Leopold book, it was a life-changing thing for me, so American side of things has always been really interesting. So when I actually went to Africa, I was just so inspired by what Namibia was doing, and my whole time there, we did a short film, and we did some 2 episodes of Nick's Wild Ride, and I got to dig pretty deep. And I wasn't there for trophy hunting there. I all own use hunt, so everything I hunted, we gave back to the villages. It was really a cool thing, and I saw it firsthand how it works. I was so inspired that when I got back, I wanted to get involved somehow. So I joined Safari Club International, and I bought a life membership. And what I didn't realize was what Safari Club does domestically. So the word safari is implies Africa to most people, right? But what a lot of people don't realize is that they do so much domestically, both on, the Great American Outdoors Act that just passed today. SCI had their hand on behind the scenes and doing the best they can to lobby for that, and they're taking our dollars and they're putting them where they matter domestically, and they spend millions and millions of dollars that a lot of people don't realize domestically. If I had my way, I'd change Safari Club International to Hunters Club International. You know what I mean? Because it's a bit of a misnomer for what they really do. And so when I found that out, I started just getting more and more involved. I got involved on the local club level, and then I started getting more involved in the national level. And now I'm proud that they advertise with my show, and I try to do whatever I can. And I have this platform, so I might as well use it. And I support Safari Club proudly. And I'm just glad to be affiliated with them. I really am.
They have really upped the ante with their influencer program, I guess.
Big time.
Call it. They brought on Christy Titus and a few other really standout people like yourself. So I really love seeing that they're involving like true blue trailblazers, like good communicators like you and Christy and plenty others to kind of expand the message and to kind of lure in new members.
That way, and I think it's smart on their part, because again, that's starting to showcase what their investment in domestic initiatives. That the Safari Club obviously still very involved in international hunting policy and conservation and everything, but I think they're doubling down on the domestic crowd, and they're letting people know more about what they do here domestically. And if you don't know more, you're going to find out more soon, because I think they're doing, like you said, a good job in communicating that. And some of that is, by engaging influencers and those kinds of things, and people that, but also it's a matter of and doing what they're doing, like getting involved with the Great American Outdoors Act and publicizing it, talking about it. I'm proud of it. How about what a great day today?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What a special thing.
Yeah, before we hopped on to do this interview, I was watching the signing because I was supposed to be alerted of some announcement from within, and I haven't received that announcement yet, but I still watched it. It was really cool just to see the key sponsors, the different administration officials just kind of champion that and how they were able to bring it across the finish line, especially in these really divided times. And everyone knows the outdoors does bring people together across political lines. And that was really nice to see that. And I think it's really good for this administration to have that achievement under their belt.
Absolutely. And, people like you talking about it is what matters too. That's the whole thing. If we're not letting people know about this stuff, then nobody's going to know, right? That sounds so simple, but it's true. If we're not talking about it, then we're not doing our jobs,
That's where communications organizations like our favorite group, Professional Outdoor Media Association, comes in. And you probably have seen this too. I don't know if you have seen it like me. There are not really too many obstacles to breaking out in the outdoor industry from the media side, but it is kind of hard for younger people if they don't already have an existing paper trail or a media trail. It is kind of hard for them to break out. I've had many people ask me, how did you do it? Like, what's the secret to breaking out? And I tell them, well, you could join organizations like POMA, and we can talk about this next. Obviously, I want to hear your thoughts on what the organization does and kind of echo the importance of groups like that to kind of cultivate, find, or refine emerging media personalities across journalism, TV, things of that sort. But I think that's where POMA can come into play with kind of bringing in these emerging people into the fold, mentoring them, giving them opportunities. We had obviously our conference derailed due to COVID. I was looking forward so much to go to Nashville, which is your backyard in Franklin area, and do that. But talk about the importance of POMA and how our organization can really kind of speak to and get more young communicators out there to talk about these issues.
I mean, that's like I talked about, if we're not talking about it, if we're not getting the message out there, then especially with younger people, then we're not doing everything we can do. And that's why I joined POMA, because I felt like I was starting to hit a plateau of the network I had and of people that I was able to engage with to figure out how to get the messaging out there that I wanted to do. Because Nick's Wild Ride has a formula, if you will. We do a certain kind of thing, so we're in a box. But I still like to write, and I still like to get involved with policy, and I still like to advocate however I can, and I like to do public speaking and things like that. And I needed a way to figure out how I could engage more and more effectively. And so POMA offered that for me because, the Professional Outdoor Media Association, even in itself, is, well, you have to be a professional, right? Like you have to have a like you said, a resume or something. No, what it is it's an organization that is for everyone. It's for beginners and the experienced, and they come together, and you can use each other's contacts and use each other's network and learn from these experienced people. And that's been just this really, really wonderful thing that I've enjoyed, not only on a professional level, but on a personal level. I've made some of my best friends, yourself included,
Yeah.
through POMA. So if you're out there and you're thinking about, even if you're a blogger or a social media influencer, if you will, if you've got a message that you're trying to spread and you're trying to figure out how to take your career to the next level, POMA is a great way to do that.
Yeah, there is that category. They did add the social media influencer category, which is good. And
Mm-hmm.
we have brought on like Nikki Boxler, I think just joined as a influencer. She's really good with her social media, and
Yep,
influencer is kind of a multi-pronged, it can be interpreted in different ways and it can be a
absolutely.
misnomer. But I think our organization does a really good job of taking that term and like actually promoting the virtues behind it.
It's an evolving thing too. That, like you said, the term influencer immediately brings to mind for some people, girls in bikinis holding up fish, and which, don't get me wrong, I've been guilty of looking at a time or two in my life, but the thing is that might not be the exactly what we're talking about, which is somebody that has a message, represents, you know, the outdoors in the way that we feel is furthering the cause. There's a place for everybody there, and everybody, and honestly, I'm for it all. If a girl in a bikini holding up a fish is going to maybe get a young girl out there fishing, I'm in. You know what I mean? There's a place for all of it. And I think that POMA has been really smart in including those people. I do, you know.
Yeah, I
And
think
then of course, like you said, there's people like Nikki who just fly the flag in the most graceful and well-spoken way, of just the outdoor lifestyle in general, not just hunting, but just living the life.
yeah.
And Maddie Brenneman is another one that I really like a lot. That she's a fly fishing woman that is just incredible and well-spoken and does a great job. And there's a lot of really cool people out there that represent us really well.
Mhm. It's true. Yeah. And they are influencing people. They have a lot of followers. Companies work
Hmm.
with them. They're hopefully inspiring people to get involved and to kind of share the message to, there's many ways to do it positively. And I think it's more positive than negative. And I think companies have learned how to fine tune their approaches. They're not just like dispensing money to these different influencers and then not getting a return on investment. It's a mutually beneficial relationship
Sure.
where the companies are investing resources in these influencers, and in turn these influencers are giving these companies what they're looking for, click-through rates, products that are
Yep.
successfully purchased, maybe more exposure for the company, things of that sort. So I think the industry is learning how to do it in their fine-tuning, and it's starting to become a little more adept, it's starting to become more effective as a marketing tool, I should say.
Absolutely. It's evolving, and the industry has learned how to embrace these people, and the people that have integrity and are actually doing it for a business,
Mhm.
and not just for attention.
Right.
And when you find those people, again, I bring up Nikki Boxer as a great example. It's somebody that she's making, her living, kind of putting her life out there. But she's doing it in a professional way that truly builds fans. And Eva Shockey's another one, that represent women in the hunting space, that also, you don't have to always be wearing camo, that you can be out there raising your babies and having a family and building a house and all the other things that Eva shows on a daily basis, that's real. That's who we are. And to paint hunters and fishermen as anything other than just regular people who enjoy the outdoors is not accurate. You know what I mean? Most people don't. I mean, look at me with the spiky hair. You know what I mean? I don't have a giant beard and look like I just changed my oil, and I'm still an average. And I consider myself an average outdoorsman.
Right. Do you have any other things you want to discuss? Because I hope this doesn't kick us out after 40 minutes, because I only have the free plan. But any final thoughts you want to add?
I don't know. We've covered a lot of ground here. It's fun. It's fun to be having this conversation that I feel like the outdoor industry and the outdoor world of conservation as a whole are headed in such a really exciting direction. There's a lot of work to do. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of stuff that's under attack. I'm proud to be a part of it. I know you're proud to be a part of it. And the one thing I'd say is, it's so fulfilling to get involved. Like, it's one thing to sit back and say, man, I wish that I had more public ground, or I wish that I could do this, or I wish I could do that. But it's a whole nother thing to get involved. And the best way you can start to get involved is to join one of these clubs. Mm-hmm. Join an organization. If it's SCI, if it's Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, if it's
Unlimited,
Ducks Unlimited or Delta Waterfowl, or just somewhere where you can connect with other people that are like-minded. You'll be amazed at how much fulfillment you'll get from that, and how much activation you'll get from it. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So that's my parting words. It's like, get out there and do something, because otherwise we're going to lose it.
Wise words. Where can people connect with you, Nick?
Instagram is and Facebook and are all Nick's Wild Ride, one word, and nickswildride.net's my website, and you can go on there and see some stuff about the show. And obviously you're going to be also seeing some brand new music coming too soon, so it's going to be good.
That is awesome. Thank you for joining me here at the podcast. And also, we're going to post this on YouTube for those of you listening and want to see this visually. We're also going to have this also on YouTube. But Nick, I appreciate you coming on to share your story, your fantastic story. Like, it's so cool that the industry is not just like stuffy policy people or writers. It's TV personalities, people from all across the country, people who work in music, who work in just different industries. And your story is so important. Your advocacy is so important. So I appreciate you coming on to share your thoughts with me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for what you're doing. You don't toot your own horn nearly enough. You're a badass and flying the flag in a great way, in a great way for us. So I'm very, very grateful for what you do.